You're good to go back. You started last year.
Thank you, we're good. All right, we are back in open session. Rise and report, we just received some information and closed. We are looking now at a recommendation. We're at a point of recommendation from the committee. Who wants to start? Michelle?
Well, I don't know that I'm there yet to make a recommendation. And I know that staff has put a lot of work together to get us to show those two scenarios, but any other input, advice would be really appreciated to know how we could carve it down a bit so that we're just not using so much in terms of the tax rate stabilization.
Yes, through the chair to the budget committee, I may ask, what kind of dollar amount are you looking for? Is that being able to go back, because we would be looking at operations, and I would be reaching out to the department heads to have a conversation. So it would be helpful to know what you're looking at for the full amount. So if you're at 4.5, you're a little less than $1 million that we're taking from tax.
So are you wanting to see what 5% looks like, or what do you?
I don't think I guess what. And I guess I should have asked the policy in terms of what we use the tax rate stabilization reserve for. Or is it just up to the discretion of the staff that can make? Are there parameters?
Yeah, when we started it, there is a description of it. I heard you describe it earlier, and that is definitely not the definition. You talked about emergencies and other things. That's definitely not the original definition. It was to smooth tax rates over time. I think unless you're using the term definition in terms of emergency in terms of economic emergency, because it's meant to help smooth highs and lows that happen in the tax rate. Hence the name, but it's definitely not an emergency fund. And never was used that way, but yes, there is a definition. I'd have to look and see where it is, but Cindy will help me find it, because it would be old. It will be, the original definition is at least my age here, because I would want to put it in place in whatever year that was.
And that's helpful, because I think just with some other the lower tiers and or other workplaces where I've been, that definition always changes, right? So I guess that's what my mindset is, and yeah, so that's.
No, the original design was because we had many years here where we were very low tax rates in the early 2000s, but anticipating deeper challenges and deeper economic challenges. And that started to happen in that 2008 time period, and that's whenever, at that point, we had built it up, never to the magnitude that it is now. And it was always kind of used the way Cindy described. If there was a surplus, that's where it went. But that didn't become a policy until much later. I would say it didn't become a policy for that action until like 12 years ago. So it has had some iterations, but the definition of it hasn't really changed over time, to the best of my memory.
Yeah, I just want to, you didn't have a meeting January 13th, correct, Chair? This is the first meeting since December.
Through the chair, correct.
Yeah, so I'm just leaving the minutes. And one of the reasons I want to come today was because I read the minutes from December 16th, I think was the last one, and the last. There was two that staff be asked for a report outlining the line by line actual for revenue, expenses, and capital projects. Is that what we just?
Yes.
That was that. There wasn't an explanation of each. Then the last one was department heads be directed to report back to the committee regarding potential reductions to department budgets and the implications of such. Did you get that report, Chair? That's one of the reasons why I came today, was to watch those. And if you got those somewhere in, right, you can get that from the department heads, but instead you got it just the city did, which I would have done, was just this is what a 3.5 looks like, right? And this is what a 5 looks like. So you're going to take money from the tax rate stabilization without seeing any potential reductions in the operating budget, or right? That's what did I miss that, Chair?
Well, you did adjust numbers from what we've seen the last time.
Yes.
Through that summaries, that was adjusted numbers. So you didn't
You did see, okay, that was
specifically
there.
point out each one.
Yeah. Okay, that was.
No, but I think what Colin's asking is, has the committee approached? Or has staff gone back to the department heads to say what could be cut if we need to? And I don't think that part has been done.
Well, I think that's what these here are, we don't.
Are they-
this
is that what those
expenses.
are?
So
Well,
some
I
of
thought it was
them,
you.
through the chair, sorry, the council member, each department head was notified that they may be called back to the committee to talk about their budget and to in the past tend to ask while they're here if there was anything that could come from the budget. So they were to be prepared to come back
That hasn't happened.
to have that discussion.
And Cindy, is it fair to say that you also met with a number of department heads where, so let me back up. There are some areas that are non-discretionary, where there's areas that are more discretionary. You've met with them to talk about budgets and clarification on certain areas. And talked to them about some of those changes and made those in-month adjustments to this document. That's what educated your list that she's already provided. So that's the answer to the question you just asked, Michelle.
That was also though to my point of whatever we settle on. I still think I would challenge staff to look at it again and see if there's anything in there. You know, I think this recommendation doesn't mean it just sits. I know last year, there was a couple of things came in after we had agreed on recommendation, a couple of changes came in and last year it reported. This year I might raise it 1% because something comes in. But just to get, that was kind of my point to that, was like, need to keep working on it right till it's approved.
What's the latest time period in which you get invoices and, at the end of the reconcile to say what the true costs for last year were?
So through the chair to the council's question, we actually formally out to all of the staff, it will be the end of this week. We said we need, because then you have your cutoff for 2024 versus year 2025. And then we have to go through that and then look at the all the outstanding invoices, and then we have to go through an entire year-end process. We're looking at all of the numbers and making sure everything's in the right spot, which takes quite a bit of time. So although we did front end some of this in order to come up with the year-to-date actuals, we're really going back and looking at all the payrolls and what payrolls had happened since we last did our report. And so basically my manager and I went line by line through every single budget and year-to-date actuals to make sure we were trying to give you the most recent that we were able to at that point without doing some entries that we know are still outstanding.
So can I take a whack at that one? So but that doesn't mean that before the time the financial statements are audited, that there can't still be adjustments.
Absolutely.
Right, so I'm just making sure,
Yes.
like, because Sue asked a question, what's the deadline? And we ran into this problem a little bit last year where I was being told about a deadline or being asked about a deadline. And I was like, well, do you mean when we'd like to have them so that we can make these things and make those adjustments? That's a totally different question.
Oh, okay.
And-
It's with the city, when they reconcile, it's long. Right?
Exactly,
Yeah,
yeah, so it depends on your definition of a deadline. And, but we do make reconciliations, but Brian just mentioned several that we made. That came along after the fact that we didn't know about, and some of them are small, like some of them are not material. Some of them may be whatever that come in, and that can be done, but we definitely would like them to be. Like Cindy sets a deadline with the department heads for a reason, because then the 99.999% of what we need to know is known. Is that fair, Cindy?
Absolutely.
You've engaged your auditors and like all of that.
Yeah,
right?
and through the chair, when we found out about the city of London, we got our social housing, we got the final bill, I went right away to Bill and said, this is what we got, I think we can adjust the budget, what do you think? Then
Well, not
we
only
came
that,
forward, so.
it has 2000, sorry, I gotta go back in time, it had 2023 implications. Some things have 2023 implications, and you have to go back and make adjustments, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with doing it. So I just wanted to be careful, I understood your definition of deadline.
Yeah, because there's no drop dead the way.
Well, there is, once we've
Once you
given the
buy.
information to the auditor,
Yeah.
then yes,
Yeah.
then I would call that my deadline
Yeah,
of making reconciliations.
that's kind of what I meant, like your drop dead date, like for the financials for the when it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even in terms of the budget, we do look at the budget, right, till we go to county
Sometimes,
council.
sometimes
just
the
to make sure.
the day of, and
Yeah.
then sometimes even after, we have to come back to you and say, whoops. And that happened last year, I think.
That's for the
Last year was the
housing.
day
agreement,
of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Last year was the day of.
yeah, but as soon as we found out, we knew that had implications, and we wanted to bring it forward.
And whether it's good news or bad news, doesn't matter if it's the reality, that's the way it is. But
We've had
does
both
committee,
ways.
does committee feel that we need to have another meeting as a committee? I don't feel that way, but I'm asking the committee.
I think we have abstaining questions. Or I ask for certain kinds of objections, so nice to have, not to have Scott's. Or my misunderstanding, that's,
I guess. But I guess the answer that I received is this is the best that staff can do in terms of,
No,
no? Okay.
sorry, I should let you finish, my apologies.
No.
Is that the end of it?
Yeah, like that,
Oh.
that's what I was looking for, like.
No, I don't think that's true. I think that what Cindy's gone back and done is said, are there obvious things that could be adjusted? She met with Paul and I, looked at some of those after she sort of collated those. I think where you go next is you go, okay, well, I think that's, I'm just playing the home game here too, but she asked you, I think she was trying to ask you for a number, because if that's the case, then she can go and look at it and go, okay, now we're hitting bone. What does that look like? And that's a different level of question. I think you're still in the flesh with what she's done, and then the next level is bone. So there's more that can be done, and that can be, I would say, Cindy, I'm putting words in your mouth.
Sure.
It's a year to date,
Yes,
that's end of December, correct?
Yes.
That's to the
Yes.
end of December,
yeah, it includes the numbers that were.
What she's got.
yes.
yeah, what you've got, right?
What's still something.
Yeah, so there was like, for example, I had a payroll last week for land ambulance, that's in,
Right,
so we manually put that in the year-to-date amount, so it was there.
This committee, I'm sure is aware, and we've seen it where we make recommendations and council has gone a different direction on certain things, like than what the committee said. That's the whole point. We're just, when we get that opportunity to see the numbers closer than what council does. So it's.
Well, we have had occasions, Brian, where the committee said X and the council said, no, it's X minus 3%
Right.
of that. Go back and make it that way.
Then that could be
They
possible.
didn't even say the committee, they just said the staff go back
Yeah.
and make it that way, and that's within, my short-term memory. So that's possible too, but I don't think Cindy's saying that she can't go and back and ask more questions and dig deeper with each individual department head, including those that are non-discretionary. That would be the next step I would see that you could take if you wanted to, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, it happens quite often.
Yeah, and
So
through the chair
Bill-
to the committee, we would also have to say what service impacts are, we definitely would.
That's
say
always,
that.
that's always what we
Absolutely.
wanna know, right?
Yeah.
What's the impact?
Yeah, we would definitely
Your
come back
point,
with that.
what's the impact?
so I'll tell you what I'll ask council, so is operations a non-discretionary item?
What's your definition of operations?
Well, I'm just looking at the budgets, right, so the first one I came to was administration, I use this as my example. Point that I want to make, so when I look at administration, that just was the first one that came out. Operations, so the 2024 budget is 241,000. Spent 191, so there's $50,000 there, and the ask is, it's minuscule, $1,000 more, right?
Well, there's lots of things in that particular budget that are discretionary, like, for example, rent, you could decide. That we're not going to rent facilities anymore, you could, but those are bone things, but yes, they are discretionary.
My question would be, as a normal, just that I'm gonna ask the council,
But we.
why did you save the 50,000? And then why do you need to put the 50,000 back in the upcoming budget? That, to me, that's a fair question, and that'd be something the budget committee may ask, right? Saved it, why do you need it again?
And Colin, in fairness, committee has asked that.
I think that's perfect.
When we see, when we go over each one, basically line by line,
You did,
it's
okay,
like,
thank
why
you.
is there such an increase here, or a decrease? That-
Cause if you look at Cindy's department, we approved another body, but
Yeah.
she's not been able to find the right fit yet,
That's fine.
right? So we can't just pull that out of the budget, cause you're still running
We're
short.
still looking for it.
And even like I could say mine was another example, just give you that, where I didn't increase travel expenditure, even though I have more staff in the department. said, we'll just have to make do with what we have.
The bills, you're down the ball.
So we're trying to do that,
Well,
but we
we're
can't.
not there yet, so.
No, we're not.
No, yeah, not saying that.
No, I definitely not saying that, I'm just saying that, well, you heard what I said. And it's possible to go deeper for sure, it's just a matter of what the implications are. That's what I think.
And it would be, you know, I said this before, but if you have an idea, that would be very helpful. You may not have an idea, but if you did have an idea of what you were looking for, then I would have something to aim for and to work with the different departments. And of course, it's very.
It's I thought it was stuff that was supposed where.
Yeah.
No, tell them how to run a business. In terms of you need to eliminate this. It's critical, I mean, or you've got a plan, I mean. Yeah, I take your point, but I'm getting the point, I'm not sure that. Any of us would jump in and say, oh, that's the department.
Well, and we can't either, I know,
No,
because
so
those are,
that's my point,
that's
you
your
have the details, right? I mean,
well,
I guess.
we can't cut a department or a service, because those are the improved services of county council.
No, but how you do it is, you're at
Yeah.
your discretion.
But to what we talked about earlier, we started at 27%, so factor down to 4.5 or potentially 3.5 if you want these gas. Sort of,
Right on.
you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
we have to stabilize.
Thank you, thank you.
And I would like to point out to the committee, I always, like I said, I put the surplus and the tax rate stabilization together, so if there is more surplus, we're taking less from tax rate stabilization, but that all goes into the same.
Right, you should track on.
Yes, yeah,
We won't know that
So
until.
we
yeah,
don't.
we don't know.
the deadline.
What's your wish? It's committee's wish.
Why don't I give you a suggestion? Why don't you let us take it back the way that I just described? Meet with those folks that are mostly in the non-discretionary, again, as Brian's, you talked about. Cause you said this to me today twice, so it's important. Go back and talk to those non-discretionary folks, talk to discretionary folks again, have another conversation. And then when you hear something that is something that is a possibility, then let's also present to the budget committee what the implications are of it. And let's do it again, like, try it again.
So can we do this on Zoom the next time? I mean, if we're just talking about, we're here basically now at 4.5 or 3.5%, right, being brought to us. If there's some updates to it, can we just Zoom that and talk about any potential updates? I'm asking the committee, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with either.
I'm fine being able to.
Okay.
Likewise, fine, fine.
Okay, so we can decide that depending on how much information there is to share. So, all right.
Let's just let staff be directed. Department heads regarding reference, under that motion.
It is January 24th, we're supposed to meet on February 11th, is that right?
At 24th. So it's gonna be like next week, like very early in the week.
Yeah.
No rush, what are you doing Monday morning? No, just,
Well, we will have to go,
that's not a lot of
and I will be going back to.
we're not expecting all of a sudden you found another $2 million.
It's another list of questions, that's it.
Yeah,
Could Wednesday, or is that soon, is that too soon?
I think you're gonna have to let us know.
I think that Wednesday
I think
is
it's
fine,
just gonna
I think I have to get back and I have to get prepared for the
A
budget.
motion to direct staff. You have the motion wrote down.
That staff be directed to meet with department heads regarding reductions and report back to the committee.
So staff being treasurer, CAO.
Yes.
Moved by Sue, seconded by Ina. In favor. Carried.
Let's do some.
Nine. That's our last item of business, so move to adjourn. Stu, Michelle.